Okay, hello and welcome to the inaugural podcast of Tell Me About Your Game, the podcast for new designers who are trying to surface their board game designs and get attention for them. I've got with us a few new game designers who are working on some projects, so I'm just going to introduce them and go around the rooms. So each of you could just tell us about yourself, the design you're working on, and a little bit about your journey. And we'll start with Yuri.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, my name's Yuri. I come from the TTRPG world, but am now trying my hand at tabletop games. One of my oldest daughter came up with a game idea, and being who I am, I started tweaking it and changing it. And now, like 5 months later, I have a proposed Kickstarter, and I'm playtesting this game. The game is a social party game where you give clues under kind of weird constraints, like you have to do it as a movie announcer, or you have to do it while doing jumping jacks, or maybe you only get to use adjectives and nouns. And sometimes there's a bunch of duels. Some are dexterity, and some are word games. The idea is fun, fast, you laugh kind of a party game. Um, yeah, that's me. Oh, the game is called 33 Seconds of Chaos.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting and fun. Chris, tell us about yourself and your game.
Yeah, I'm Chris. My game is Crown and Dagger. It's a secret bidding and tableau building game. Fairly medium weight, a little crunchy, nothing too bad. I come from this from the game world already. I'm a software engineer, and I've been in the game market, game space, most of that. So video games, mobile games, slot games, things like that. So I'm no stranger to that. But at this point, I wanted to try my hand at implementing any of that knowledge into the board game world, see what I could make. It started out making simple, small, like two-player or min-tin games for me and the girlfriend to take while we're going camping, road trips, things like that. But I really wanted to challenge myself and see if I could make something that was bigger, more to my taste, and kind of Crown and Dagger is sort of what it became. So it started as like a little worker placement game, nothing crazy, but I wanted to add some political maneuvering to it, some secrecy, and it naturally just kind of became a bidding thing. And I've been playtesting it pretty wide, gets pretty good responses so far, so I'm working on it, keep it going.
Okay, great. Thanks. Andre, you're up. Tell us about
Hi
you. Tell
everyone.
us about your game.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So I'm Andre. I'm the designer of Gravestorm. It's a card battler based on. I normally frame it as a formation-based card battler, fueled by self-destructive power, and I think it's the theme that it's also implied in this brief description of the card game. As my experience, I'm just a hobbyist. I never made any game prior to this, so it's my debut project, let's say. And it actually started just as a joke on a Secret Santa meeting that me and my friends we are gathering every year already for like 12 years that we have this meeting. And being an immigrant, I'm living abroad from my country, which is Portugal. So and it's not that often that I go there. So this is kind of a big deal, this meeting. And I decided to bring one game based on whatever things we like the most, because we played a lot of board games before. And this just it was just a joke, but it became very big deal. And I'm also launching a crowdfunding campaign next year maybe. So yeah.
Same.
Okay, great. And I'll be in the show notes. I'll be linking all of the socials, crowdfunding sources, and pages for your games so people can refer to them. A little bit about where I'm coming from and why I decided to start this podcast. Like most of us, I have been playing board games for a very long time. I looked back and I think my board game geek first my inaugural year, I want to say was like something like 2011 or something along those lines. So I've been doing this for a while. Um, and then I just got the bug. I had an idea for a game. It went through multiple iterations. I took it to conventions. It's a two-player strategic game, but with a heavy thematic element. And the feedback I always got when I brought it to conventions was very good. But the challenge became getting the word out there. I would post on Board Game Geek. I would go in to break my game. I would do everything that you were supposed to do, and getting any significant degree of attention was, it seemed almost insurmountable at times. Um, I managed after an enormous amount of effort to build a small community around my first game. I'm talking like 5 or 6 regular players who we would meet on Discord and test it on Tabletop Simulator. But that took an incredible amount of effort to do, involving traveling to multiple conventions. I went to Gen Con twice, which, for any budding board game designer, I highly recommend. But I also say be prepared, because you will be completely exhausted at the end of the day. So when you look at the amount of time and money I had to spend to build even that small community, it was just really, it would be prohibitive for some people.
Yep.
So I said to myself, I should really make a podcast about my game. And then I thought, I'm going to run into the exact same problem. No one's going to come and look at my podcast. And then I started thinking, maybe other people are having the same challenges. What if I just put something out there and saying, hey, I'm thinking about having a podcast for new game designers who are unknown and are having a hard time getting attention. And I thought to myself, well, I'll post this on Reddit, I'll post it on Board Game Geek, and if I get 2 or 3 people who are interested, that would be great. By the end of the next day, I was up to over a dozen board game designers who were saying they would love to do this. So I said, hey, there's a need here. So, I just kind of want to ask each of you, when you first heard about this project, what about it made you jump in? Because each of you were among the earliest people who expressed interest. So I'll go in reverse order, Andre. You were actually, I think, the very first person who reached out to me and said, hey, this sounds like a great idea. So what went through your mind and what made you excited about it?
I even lost track of how it happened, but I think you were just commenting to a Reddit post that I posted in one of those subreddits about board game design, and we started chatting. And you talked about this project that you had in mind, and I completely support the idea, because I think there is a lack of this kind of resource for board game designers or card game designers to show their creations out there. But I think there's a common problem in every hobby, because this is not my first hobby, but I've had a few hobbies, is that when you need to gather a community around your hobby, you always face the same problem, which is that the people that you are showing your whatever creation you're doing to are most likely your peers in the beginning. So not your exactly target crowd, let's say. So we are all board game designers here. We are designing games. So we are probably not the right crowd to see each other's project, because, we don't have that much time, whatever reasons. We are not the common people that will eventually consume the games. But I think we have to start here. I mean, this is the place to start, because we always have some more connections. We can refer people, oh, I think this person would like that game, that you have to try to give hints while dancing Macarena or whatever. And there is a game for everyone, and we have a lot of friends, and we can just I think it's the great place to start with our peers, to just talk about our games. And I'm always interested in also getting to know other games, and especially the journey and the struggles, and also the lessons that other people learned and are willing to share, so we can avoid some of their mistakes, perhaps. And I think it's a great platform to start spreading the word and growing our communities and showing our game to the world.
You and I had a lot of conversations early on, in addition to correcting how I post things on Reddit, which was a learning experience for me, because apparently I posted things in the wrong place. But it really just kind of opened, our conversation again, since you were the first one, was just like this thing, we might have something here. And Chris, you were also one of the early designers who reached out to me and joined the Discord, where all of us who are going to, participating in the podcast are getting together and talking about our struggles. So what went through your head when you saw this the idea for this podcast?
For me, it was a couple things. The first one was any more exposure, obviously, is good.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. Next one is any more chances I can get to interact with other designers, whether new or experienced, doesn't matter. Any sort of interaction is usually good. I learned a long time ago, never be the smartest person in a room, otherwise you're no longer learning. So I want to be around other designers. I want to learn how they think, how they're designing things, that sort of thing. But also, uh, it's like back to the exposure. It's about getting out there. The online community is very anonymous. You can have a great idea for a game, but if it doesn't get out, people don't really care. Also, I've seen that a lot of people tend to connect with the designers and games if they can see the person, if they can hear the person, things like that. So like I thought this was probably a good chance to kind of get myself out there, not just the game, but just me as the designer, and just make that connection with people, whether it's designers, potential customers, whatever. So I just thought it was a good way to start.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. One of the things I've learned over the years after not just as on the in the board game design space, but just this, the not just the social media space as a consumer. I am not a producer of social media, but in terms of YouTube and podcasts, one of the things the podcasts that and the YouTube channels I like the most are the ones where you do get to know the people who are behind it, where it's not just they're talking about an interesting topic, but like I know, like I want to be like I know who Chris is. I know a little bit about Chris, so I'm a little bit more compelled when Chris has something to say, or like when I know Yuri or Andre and they say, "Hey, I've got a new design." Like, "Oh, I know what they do." So I'm a little bit more interested now because I know who they are and what they do. Again, for those of us who have been in board gaming for a long time, like the name Reiner Knizia is, it's one of those board game designers. If you've been in the space for a while, you know who he is. When Reiner Knizia comes out with a game, you have some idea of what there's going to be. There's going to be a little bit of math involved. He might like, your lowest scoring factor is going to be your score for the game. These are Knizia things. You know what it means. Whereas like right now, if Jeff Kunkel comes out with a game, no one has any idea what that means because no one knows who Jeff Kunkel is. And that's a really good point. What about you, Yuri? You were also one of the early people who reached out to me. What went through your head?
Um, so obvious. I think it might get obvious as we keep doing this. I don't mind hearing myself talk. Uh, so I thought I might be a good fit for this. I mean, some of the other reasons that the others mentioned, right? Like connecting with other designers, learning from other designers, whether it's mistakes or whether it's something that's working, right? Um, and obviously, like just support. I mean, when I was at Level Up in Woodbridge, New Jersey, we had a whole prototype alley, and some of the best connections I made were with other designers. And whenever I would finish up one of my playtests, I go, "Hey, do you like this kind of a game? You should go check out, there's like a two-player abstract strategy over there, or this like bidding card game or whatever." So, and I don't know, A, that feels good, and B, it's just, that's how you start building a community. Yes, other designers aren't necessarily your target audience, although sometimes, right? We all got into this because we like tabletop games. So, I've certainly backed enough Kickstarters in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and you said something there where you said like not only what you've done right, but what you've done wrong. I think one of the things we learn as budding designers is play a lot of board games. And I can certainly say I have done that. I have an embarrassing number of board games in my collection. But the thing with those is those are finished. So all of the eventual right decisions that went into it. You don't see all of the wrong decisions as the game was being designed. And that is just such a crucial element of learning how to design a game. What were the mistakes that, Reiner Knizia or Cole Whirl or some of the big designers made along the way? so that you can avoid those pitfalls.
Yep.
So, and I think, yes, having this group of designers as we're working together, as we're designing our games and looking and learning from our mistakes and learning different options is not something you see in the board game podcast world. Evil, you get these finished products that people want to show off, that are already designed, already have all of their artwork, already have their rules completed, are already up in Kickstarter or GameFound, and you see the finished product. You didn't see the warts and all product that led to that eventual design, which is again why this community I think is such a crucial thing, where it's just designers at our stage. So, they talk about building community. They talk about having to get a group of people together. Um, what are you looking for in a community for your game? Like, if you get a solid community of people in your Discord server, what does that mean to you? And what have been the challenges in getting there? So I'll start with you, Chris. What do you look for in a community, and why is it hard to build one right now?
Um, So when it comes to community, I'm looking at this in a sort of a holistic sense. So I'm not trying to build a community for one game. I'm trying to build a community for all the games I'm building, obviously. I would say for the current state of affairs, Jamie Stegmaier is a really good example of kind of I would say he's
Yeah.
kind of the benchmark of the new age publisher. So he has set the standard of being available, being out there as the face of the company, but as a designer, right? You don't see a lot of designers ever show up anywhere. We know of Reiner just because he's been around for so long,
Yeah.
he's so prolific. But a lot of other famous designers, you may not even notice them if you see him in a crowd, right? Like, so he has sort of set this standard of how to be online, be there, be in front of people. People feel like they know him because he has a lot of discussions and stuff like that. And the community he's built, where is he? Like St. Louis, I think. The community he's built there, he built it grassroots, ground up. But a lot of those people are following everything he does, not just the one game that he's now making. It's everything he does. So, I mean, ultimately, I think that would be the goal for me is to build a community that has interest in may not want everything I'm making, but at least has exposure to it. They can see it. They know what's coming, that kind of thing. So I think that's like the ultimate goal. I'd say like a secondary goal would be just eyeballs. I'm fine with with community telling me, what are things they like about the games, what are things they don't like about the games, because that helps kind of funnel my design choices, things like that. Um, Playtesting, it's always good to have playtesting people. I find that while Break My Game is a wonderful resource for playtesting, it's all designers, and you're getting a lot of designer feedback, which is wonderful. But the thing is a lot of those people are not your target audience. I've played my game plenty of times with people, and a lot of times one of the first things they'll say is, "Well, I don't like bidding games, but," and they give you a bunch of good feedback, but they're not the target audience. So great resource for playtesting, but sometimes you need to also playtest with the actual players out there that aren't designers that just want to play the game. You want to see how they experience it. You want to see what it feels to them, if they enjoy it, stuff like that. So for me, it's sort of both. It's to build a community for all games, but then also have a playtesting wing of people who are interested in helping kind of funnel design to something that they would actually want.
Yeah. And one of the things that when you mentioned Jamie Stegmaier of Stonemaier Games that struck me that I like about his approach, he has this, I don't know if he's still doing it, but he used to do these brief videos of his favorite mechanic.
Oh, still
Um,
does it.
he's still doing them.
I think
And
so, yeah.
and those were great because he has that level of insight, but he would also just feature such a broad range of board games, and they didn't have to be Stonemaier games. They could be games from any publisher, and he's like, look at this really cool thing that this game does. So not only is he building the community around Stonemaier games, but also just giving free exposure to other publishers. And I think one of the unique things about gaming in general, actually, whether it's, tabletop gaming or video gaming, whatever, it's not a zero sum game. It's not like, if my publisher, my game wins, your game loses. We are we are hopeless addicts as board games as board gamers. And if there's a cool game, we're gonna buy it. We'll find a way. It's not like, I'm gonna buy Yuri's game, so I'm not buying Andre's game. That's not how it's gonna work. If they're both cool games, I'm gonna buy them both. And we just will all do better if we support each other, and especially as new designers, because just again, getting those eyeballs, as you said, Chris, is so critical. So, Yuriy, what are you looking for in your community, and why has it been so hard to get a community going?
I mean, a lot of the points Chris made obviously land. Um, I- One of the things is you're so close to your game that having other folks talk about it and say, "Hey, what about this?" or whatever is so useful. Um, Content ideas, all kinds of stuff, and you do get that through playtesting as well. Like I've been going to different conventions and just finding people to say, "Hey, you guys like party games? Like, come on over." Um, of course, eyeballs is always helpful. Having folks play this game, not just with me at a table at a con, but at their house, and whether sending me videos or just letting me know how it went, would be amazing. Yeah, and I mean, it's thousand true fans kind of a situation, right? Like you don't, our stuff's not for everybody, right? But finding those like core people that will champion what you do is amazing. Like I know I have folks in whose communities I am where, yeah, if they're coming out with stuff, like I will be cheering them on and sharing and all that stuff, right? So I would want that same thing for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah. Um, and what about you, Andre? I actually have a follow-up question to each of you for this that just occurred to me while you were talking, Yuri. But I want to hear Andre's perspective about his community, what you're looking for a community, and the challenges you've experienced in building one.
Yeah, I guess that Chris and Yuri already made very good points about this question, but I would just like to clarify that when I said that we are not exactly the target audience, I didn't mean that we will not enjoy the games of each
Right.
other or we are not game enthusiasts. What I meant is that we are a minority comparing to
Yes.
the amount of people playing. That just want to clarify that I'm not saying that we
Mhm.
are not in consumers of our craft as well. Uh, Regarding the question about the community, I would like to, similar to Chris, even though I don't have many big ideas and ambitions of creating many more games, I am working on a game that is based on an expandable model. So it's a card game that it's expandable. It's an expandable card game. So unlike trading card games, you're buying the whole thing at once. It's more like a board game, if we want to name it this way, because it's a self-contained product in each release. So it would be nice to have a community following this journey since the core set to the first expansion to the second expansion, and of course gathering the feedback of what is working well, what needs to be improved, what it's the favorite mechanics, what working together with the community that is playing the game is the best way to design. I would say, and I think that great games, uh, of course, there are special cases that are genius designers that just out of the blue make the perfect game. But I would say that a lot of games that are evolving together with the community around them are the ones that actually have a bigger fan base, that people really loving and supporting the game, because it's this community feeling that they feel part of that universe and that creation. So that's eventually what I'm looking forward to in my communities. Also, I'll just like to mention that in Reddit alone, I've just posted so many questions and this or that questions, or gathering feedback about the mechanics or art direction, a lot of things. And so many people, random strangers that I will never know, gave so many useful and very important feedback. So I really, this game wouldn't be in the place where it is right now if not for those anonymous person commenting on Reddit posts. So yeah, I think this community around the game, and especially talking about designers, it's crucial to find out problems before they happen, you know, and or just ideas to make it more fun.
Yeah, and I have to agree on Reddit. I mean, it's again, I was a member of Board Game Geek way back when, and lately I've found Board Game Geek to be a little bit less relevant, and Reddit to be a little bit more relevant. And I don't know if you guys have had a similar experience. It seems to be easier to get responses on Reddit than it is on Board Game Geek these days.
I'll blaspheme and say I don't have any pages on Board Game Geek. I technically have an account, but but I've been on Reddit since Dig fell apart.
Oh wow,
So
that's going
yeah,
back.
yeah, for sure. And I'm in a bunch of different communities again, TTRPGs, and every time I get into a new thing, and now that I'm trying my hand at tabletop, yeah, I was like, well, I know where I'm gonna go first, and just start subscribing. And Reddit could be very, I'm sure you guys know, Reddit could be very hit or miss. Sometimes you can get a good conversation going, and sometimes it's crickets, and sometimes somebody will say something not nice. But it's Reddit.
It can be
Reddit be
brutal.
Redditing.
It can be
Yes.
brutal, but
Yeah.
but sometimes it's also good to. I mean, I'm not talking about about offensive comments and hate
Right.
speech or something. I'm just saying that sometimes brutally honest comments can also make you shift in the right direction if
Yeah,
they are well
absolutely.
meant. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And you also see what other people get as responses. And that could be very illuminating as well. So
yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from Board Game Geek because obviously they have played like a really pivotal
Mhm.
role in expanding tabletop gaming culture. I mean, they really their influence can't be denied. But I almost feel like, again, like so many other things, it has gotten so big now, and it has gotten, in many ways, very commercialized. You know, where there's all of these sponsored videos out there, and if you're not one of the big name designers, it's almost impossible to get any attention. So, but I want to go back to something that you had mentioned about your community, Yuri, where you're looking for like that positive feedback, like, oh, like this game is amazing, and getting that. Something I've experienced at times, like, because my community for my games is so small right now, um, where you go through this like dearth where people have lives and they're doing, they have things going on, and they're busy at work, or they're busy with family, and you don't get the feedback you're looking for when you post something. Do any of you get that feeling of like deflation where you post something and then there is just no response on your, if you have a Discord server, on your Discord server? Have you had that experience?
yeah, of course. And my Discord server is not particularly big right now, so it's
Right.
not super surprising.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of part of nature of the beast, so to speak, until you have kind of a certain critical
Yeah.
amount, especially I think once you start seeing conversations happen without you being involved, I think that's kind of a big inflection slash tipping point that I've seen in other Discord communities. I'm part of a number of TTRPG communities, whether from their Kickstarter or from Reddit or whatever. And again, people will just start side conversations. That's kind of when like, oh, this community is kind of thriving without you having to post question of the week or whatever.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, of course, like even on we've been starting up Instagram, and sometimes the post does well, and sometimes the post just flops, and there's not a whole lot of engagement. Um, it doesn't feel great, but I think it's one of those. It's kind of weird, and in real life, if like 300 people saw your content and were like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," you'd be like, "Oh, this is great." But when that happens in the internet, you're like, "I'm a failure."
It's only
So,
300 people. What a
ex-
disaster.
exactly. So I think I try to keep that perspective in my mind. And yeah, it's the problem of long tail, right? Like something Seth Godin talks about a lot. Once you once you start removing the gatekeepers, right, and like you make something more accessible, more folks get into it, which is great. But you get this kind of long tail. If anybody can do it, everybody will do it. And you kind of get this long tail of like there's a couple of big hits and then some like medium stuff and a lot of stuff that just didn't make it.
Yeah.
And it is the nature of how these things happen, and you just got to push through it.
Yeah. And I feel like, to your point where, there's 300 people that see you in real life. That's an amazing thing. 300 people on Instagram or wherever else it's deflating and it seems like a failure. I think part of that is because we all know that it's very easy to join an Instagram page. Like you can just click follow. But we also know that the follow up on things that are actually meaningful from them, like I'm going to go play test your game, I'm going to go to your Kickstarter or your Game Found page, that follow through is very small. So if you get 300 followers on Instagram, you're like, well, I know my Kickstarter is not going to succeed because maybe 10 to 15% of them are going to actually go through and fund my game.
Yep.
So you need a much larger base for your community because we have the idea of how we define our community. These are people who are engaged and who comment on my game, who play test it, who will back it. But your community's members' idea of being in a community may be very different. That may be, I'm going to join your Discord server and I may comment, once a month.
Right.
So that's their conception of being in a community. That's not your conception of being in a community because that's nice, but it's not helpful to you in the long run.
Right. And again, as far as like perspective, I know I'm in a lot of communities or I follow certain pages, but even like I can't realistically engage with every single post, with every single community every day. So again, you have to kind of keep that perspective. Like, yes, your thing is the most important to you. For them, this is another thing on the internet, and they may or may not care, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think if you think of it that way, your next big thing is like, okay, how do I get somebody to care, right? And
Right.
that's the angle I'm trying to think through these things.
Right. And I think that loops back to why this video podcast in particular can be so helpful. We want to put something out there so when you, Chris, or Andre, or Yuriy come on as a guest, talk about your game, demo a portion of your game, it's to get people to know, is this a game that I care about? We want to surface things that are so hard to surface otherwise. We want to create that channel for new designers to come in and go, this is what I'm doing. This is why I think it's cool and amazing. And if you think it's cool and amazing based on what I've shown you, this is where you can go. You can go to my Discord server. You can go to my website. You can go to my, my Kickstarter or my Game Found page. You can go to, if you've been able to build a Board Game Geek page, here's my Board Game Geek page for it. Here's all the ways that you can connect. And we want to be able to surface your designs, which would otherwise not have a channel for that. So, we've gone a little bit all longer than I expected, but that's great. Anyone have any closing thoughts or something that they want to share before we wrap this up for the day?
I always do, but I'm gonna wait till the end because, like I mentioned in the beginning, I like hearing myself talk.
You are not a shy man, Yuriy. We're all getting that.
I used to be. I've gotten over it.
Yeah. So Andre, what's the if you were to leave the audience with one thought, what would it be?
I don't know, just stay tuned. This project seems very promising. I see that you're taking it very seriously, Jeff, and thank you for having us here and doing this for our community and helping the game designers to get more attention and grow those followings. Just one side note related to the previous topic. Sometimes people are on your Discord server. They don't interact much, but if you ever are to launch a crowdfunding page, they might actually support your
Right.
game because otherwise they might just leave. I personally am in a lot of different Discord servers that I don't engage with, and I already supported a couple of crowdfundings. So yeah, there are people that are just lurking, just silent there, but they are still supporting the project. And yeah, thank you once again. I don't have any other things to mention.
Okay, yeah, and that's actually a really good point. Just because someone's quiet, silent, doesn't mean that they're not going to back the game. They just may not be as outgoing as Yuri. Chris, any final thoughts?
I'm excited for this. I think, like I said before, any exposure is good exposure. But I think this is also going to be helpful to make those connections with other designers, potential community. Also, I think this could be really helpful to showcase the process that we go through, whether it's designing or crowdfunding or whatever else. So, I think, any addition to the community in terms of board games is good, period. So, I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to more of this. And I'm happy to contribute where I can when I can.
Okay, great. And you've been involved, and everyone's involvement on the Discord server where all the designers are gathering is really appreciated. So, Yuri, you get the second to last word.
Sounds good. First of all, thank you for hosting, and you seem to be a natural at hosting, which is excellent. I'm looking forward to doing more of these videos, and I already have more ideas of what we can do. Round tables and all that fun stuff. I see this being as a resource to new designers, but new designers won't always be new designers, and I think this could be a start of yet another community, but where folks can kind of all grow together and learn from each other. So I'm excited for it.
Okay, I am too. Again, I have to say I was really pleasantly surprised at the level of response I got to my Reddit post, and to a lesser degree the Board Game Geek post. I did get some responses from there, so it's still alive and kicking. But like you, I have all kinds of ideas about where this could go. But in order for that to happen, we need to get the people involved. We need to get the viewers. We need to get the exposure. So to everyone all of the guests, everyone who's watching this, I'm going to ask, please, I'm going to do the classic, please like and subscribe to this video because we really want to get the word out there. There are so many great designs I've already seen just from the people who have joined the Discord server as new designers. I've read through them, some amazingly well thought out ideas, and from such a broad range, from Yuri's party game to someone is building a light conflict simulation but using some very interesting ideas in there. It's a broad range, but these all come to nothing if people don't engage and people don't reach out. And so we're going to do our best to get the word out there. So I want to thank you, Yuri, Chris, and Andre, for agreeing to join this. I think it's been some great conversations. And hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we will get our very first formal interview out there with the first design that we're going to highlight. So thank you again to everybody. And everyone, keep an eye on this space, and we will let you all know how things are going. Thank you again, and thank you for watching Tell Me About Your Game.